Brilliant, and I think in the spirit of time, Janet, we'll just get cracking. We've got quite a small group today, so three attendees along with myself and Janet. So I suggest we could kind of, you take that as a bit of an opportunity to just ask questions as we're going along. I think when there's less people, we can, treat the webinars being a bit more fluid. The other thing, and sorry to kind of put you all on the spot as well, but because there's so few people, we've probably got a bit of an opportunity for introductions as well. So we've got Francis, Margaret, Mike, and we've also got Richard, who's just joined us as well. So it would be really useful for us, as we're kind of moving through, and we've got Pat, who's just arrived as well. Just moving through, if we just had a really brief intro from yourselves, just to tell us who you are, what business you've got, and really what you want to get from the session today. So I've unmuted all your microphones, so you can all speak. As we're working through the webinar as well, feel free to use the chat function and ask questions, and we'll aim to answer those as we go along. But we'll also make sure that we've got enough time at the end. So just in terms of introductions, my name's Colin Bell, I'm a consultant for Winning Moves. Janet's one of the team managing this digital tech project within Cumbria, and so already provided an introduction. My background is was one of the previous owners of Winning Moves, sold the business, and now have another business and work in public policy and economic development around trying to create an environment where SMEs can develop and grow, but particularly around digital technology, and also since selling the business, still do work for Winning Moves on a consultancy basis. So that's a bit about me. Francis, can we start with yourself? Are you able just to give us a bit of an intro, just where you're from and what you're looking to get out of the webinar today?
Yeah, I'm Francis. I'm currently a supply chain manager working down near Kendal, but I'm planning to retire early and set up my own weaving business, which I've been doing a little bit of, and I'm scheduled to start a course on website design so that I can put together my own website. And really I'm just interested in how to go about using digital technology to sell. Fantastic,
that's great, Francis, and great to hear that we've got an entrepreneur in the midst there. That's just what we need. And Margaret, are you able just to give us a quick intro?
Sure, yeah. So I'm a yoga teacher, yoga and mindfulness teacher. I've been working in the community, but since lockdown, I've had to get online, build myself a little website, and I'm really just curious to see how this webinar might support me in rolling out health and well-being through education, through yoga and mindfulness. And yeah, so I'm just looking to see how I can reach more people, how I can become more visible, to spread the word, really. And in particular, I'm looking to put out there a program called Yoga for Health, which is a social prescribing measure. And so really wanting to connect, even with GP surgeries and wider.
Fantastic, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Margaret. And Mike, can you just give us a brief intro?
Well, good morning. I'm Mike Barry. I run a credit union, not-for-profit financial services organisation. We had 3 offices, 2 in Lancashire, 1 in Cumbria in Barrow, all closed at lockdown. So we were, like many other people, we were forced to keep, to transform immediately from a very manual paper-based office-based systems into a completely online digital offering, which has worked really well for me. So I'm really here to find out what other people have done and to blatantly steal any ideas that I can use.
Okay, brilliant. So we'll make sure we've got plenty of time for discussion and just kind of whopping of ideas. Hopefully there's some exercises that will allow us to do that, Mike. But brilliant. Pat, just a brief intro from yourself.
Hi, I'm Pat.
Oh yes, Tom.
And I'm an acupuncturist and a yoga teacher.
All right. We've got a bit of a theme going on here.
Yeah, I'm working with Margaret, and I know each other, and I know Francis as well.
Right, okay. Cumbria is a small place. I'm a Cumbrian myself, by the way.
So, as Margaret said already, we've done some training on this social prescribing initiative, sort of Yoga for Health, which is a brilliant initiative that we're looking to roll out. And the idea is that we want to see whether or not we can use either a combination of a digital platform as well as face-to-face opportunities to see if we can get this initiative sort of rolled out through doctor surgeries throughout sort of Cumbria. It's backed by, we've got charity backing. The guys that we did the training with have got charitable status. So at the moment we're looking at means through which we can actually get this rolled out and see whether or not sort of these sources of funding that we could use to either to digitize specifically the platform, because or whether there's other opportunities that we can use to connect both to kind of like sort of sorry, I'm losing my voice, a mediator, as in a doctor's surgery that can act on our behalf, or whether we can, what we can do direct. So I think quite things to think about at the minute for us.
Okay, excellent. And that's really useful, and certainly, you know, some areas where the wider program.
She's not in today. Can I help?
Just one thing, when you're not speaking, if you could just mute your microphone, you'll find that at the top of the screen, and then we'll do it, and then we won't hear any interruptions, as it were. But cheers, thank you. Sorry, I think I've unmuted everyone, so you'll have to remute, as it were. And then, last but by no means least, Richard, can you just give us a brief intro?
I think it was possible.
Just hold 1 second. Yeah, I've just come back on. I'm just on the call, so can I skip this, please?
That's not a problem, Richard.
All right.
No problem at all.
Thanks.
Yeah, so great. So sorry to kind of throw that at you at the start of a webinar. I think in webinars we're not kind of used to that kind of introduction, and we're just kind of straight through a PowerPoint. But you know, I think, you know, in the spirit of things, it would be really great to make it as interactive as possible. In terms of the structure of the session, I'm going to start by really running. So the theme obviously is around customer experience, and I think that, you know, hopefully it will kind of flow into and meet some of the objectives that you've just highlighted at the start. John, how do you deliver a customer experience, an exceptional customer experience, but also how do you leverage or use digital technology to really enhance that experience for your customers? So we're really going to be looking at customer journeys and actually how we run and develop those. I think that what we're not going to focus on, though, is digital technology in its entirety. It's recognizing that to deliver a customer journey, you need to use digital technology where it's really going to add something, add value, add to the experience. But that's equally got to into connections that you're going to have with your customers as well, and also partners. You know, there's going to be different people involved in the delivery of that customer journey. So we're going to work through some trends, and then we're going to really focus on some tools and techniques. So almost a 6-step approach to delivering what we would call a wow customer experience. So there's going to be a lot of wow mentioned throughout this webinar today. So the first thing is really just to highlight, you know, why wow? You know, why should we really focus on developing an exemplary or a really powerful customer journey for our customers? Well, there's really compelling reasons behind that. Oh, that was a bit wow. I wasn't expecting that to happen to the wow there, but I think that must be what one of my kids trying jazz up my presentation. But why wow? Well, there's some really compelling research, and I think what the research points to in terms of differentiation, building value and loyalty from customers, you know, there's a massive focus on customer experience now. It's almost the new kind of paradigm, or the thing that companies are really focusing on to grow their customer base and really make sure that they're keeping customers for a long time. And there's some really good reasons for doing that. So research here from American Express highlights that 68% of buyers are willing to pay more for a great customer experience. So they're willing to pay more, they'll pay a premium for the delivery of a great customer experience. And just to kind of quantify that, research shows that customers will actually pay up to 13% 13% premium because they've delivered a great experience. A great experience that's really kind of connected with them on a kind of basic but also an emotional level. They'll pay up to 13% more. If that's linked to a premium good, product or good, that actually rises to up to 18% more. So again, if you're dealing in premium goods and experiential goods, then you know that benefit can really be enhanced. In terms of some other things, customer experience, you know, the pundits say that it's really earmarked to be the I suppose the #1 differentiator for companies during this year and beyond. You know, as I say, it's something that people are really focused on at the moment. Another thing, and this is you know, why it's really important to deliver that great experience, is that 1 in 3 customers will leave a brand that they love, you know, a brand that they've probably been with for a long time, just from you know, them receiving one bad experience. So again, really important that we get that experience right, and it flows through the entire customer journey. And another thing is that, you know, we think about impulse purchases. You know, the supermarkets are the kind of masters at this, kind of crafting the experience to make people buy on impulse. I suppose IKEA is probably the real masters at this. You can't go there without spending at least £80 or £100 without almost knowing it. But 45% of buyers have made an impulse purchase based on the experience that they've received. So if it wasn't wrapped within an experience, the product or service, they probably wouldn't have bought it. And then you know, again, just to reiterate, customers that rate companies with high customer experience spend 140% more and remain loyal for up to 6 years. Obviously, that's through consistently getting that experience delivered from customers. So, really compelling fact, you know, as you know, really, I suppose, highlighting why there's this focus on customer experience. And I think in the digital world, it's really been brought to the forefront, and it's even more important that we get that right. And I'll come on to some of the reasons for that. So where are you going to send your customers? Are you going to, you know, deliver a wow experience, or are you going to deliver a woe experience? Well, there we go. There's that wow doing its thing again. What wasn't intentional. A thing to really to focus on with customer experience is that this is about delivering an end-to-end customer experience. Now, you could actually have a great e-commerce platform, deliver a really personalized experience through the buy-in phase. But if your delivery systems let you down, then that's what customers are going to remember. That's what's going to make them leave. So the point I'm just trying to make here is that you're almost as good as your weakest link. Quite often in smaller businesses, you'll have partners who you're relying on. So we've talked about, you know, through the examples earlier, that there might be a reliance on a GP or, you know, a partner that you're working very closely with to deliver part of that experience. They could be your weakest link. So equally, you've got to make sure that they're really in tune with the customer experience you want to deliver, right from the engagement with the customer and right through to them, you know, hopefully coming back and buying from you again. So they've got to be really tuned into that. So it's about, you know, this, we'll cover this in a bit more depth later, but thinking about the entire end-to-end customer experience and actually how we try and entice people back and repeat the cycle. It's about delivering an end-to-end wow. You know, so each stage of that, it's got to be consistent, it's got to be delivered, it's got to be you know, wow at every point, and making sure that we don't have any of those broken links, because that's what customers are ultimately going to remember. So in terms of digital technology, I'm just going to run through quickly through some digital trends, and then we'll move on to the tool and the tools, and hopefully that can give us an opportunity to be a bit more interactive. So in terms of some of the trends that we're seeing at the moment that are really putting companies in a position to deliver an enhanced customer experience based on digital technology. These are some of the trends that we're seeing at the moment. First one, just want to draw on is mass customization. So customers increasingly are wanting they're wanting to personalize the product journey, the product services, the experience, the experiences that they demand. So that comes under this term, mass customization. And you see this all the time, and you'll probably be buying products and services all the time that are kind of catering into this trend. So, well, first example here is not on the high street, something that, you know, we use in our house quite often. So you may be buying a gift for someone, you want to kind of add that personal touch, make it, you know, really, really personal to them. Then you can buy a whole range of different goods not on the high street that can be personalized. Interestingly, they've obviously got a supply chain that's normally smaller craft-based companies who are actually providing those products and services. So there's a whole supply chain, but behind platforms like Not on the High Street that are kind of feeding into that whole trend for personalization. And of course, we see the big companies are equally tuned into this. So IKEA, they've got several bits of software, and we'll look at another one a bit later on, where actually they allow you through their online platform to personalize your products and services. So for instance, there's an online kitchen planner that's available there. But one of the reasons I put that on is that I actually used that and it worked. You know, managed to design my own kitchen, and you know, I think it looks all right on the back of that. Nike, for years, they've been allowing you to personalize trainers online. Again, that's a trend that's really kicking off at the moment. You know, there's a particular trend at the moment with kids and football boots and kind of getting their name printed onto the football boot. So again, you know, in fashion, you know, personalization's a real trend. There's smaller companies who sell things like hoodies online. So there's a great company I know in Leeds doing that. They're growing really well at the moment. And dead simple, they're basically personalized hoodies. You know, it's essentially a printing company, you know, by operation. And then I'm sure you all use these type of services as well. Things like Moonpig, where you can create bespoke and personalized cards for your friends and family and loved ones. So you see this all the time, but there's a huge demand for the personalization of goods and services. Another thing, and this is something I've highlighted this because this is one of the things that's coming over the horizon. One of the things that's really going to drive this, and hopefully it will be a real benefit to Cumbria where there are connectivity issues, is the emergence of 5G. So 5G networks, which essentially means that we will be connected or have the ability to be connected to super fast broadband all the time, anywhere. So we'll always be connected, which is just going to present new possibilities to businesses and the experiences we deliver. One of the things I personally believe that's really going to drive forward is going to be the mainstream use of augmented reality. We're already seeing an upward trend in the use of augmented reality, particularly from bigger companies, but don't let bigger companies using these technologies put you off, because the way I look at it, they're doing the R&D, they're testing it, they're making the investment. What that leads to are applications that almost become off the shelf that you'll be able to use in your businesses. We're already seeing augmented reality platforms being positioned for the smaller business market. So I say some of these things are becoming much more accessible to and cost effective for smaller companies. So essentially what augmented reality, it's putting a virtual overlay over a real world. So here you can see a concept shop this is actually from Japan, where through it's actually goggles within this particular shop, but you could do it through a smartphone. You know, again, everyone's got a smartphone, and basically it's giving you information about the store, where things are stored. When you pick up a product, it will tell you nutritional values. It will kind of, you know, have demos of different recipes that you can try out and all those sort of things. So increasingly, we're going to see this type of technology used within retail environments and high street environments as well. You know, as you're walking around the high street, you'll be able to present options, offers, you know, tell people a bit more about a particular store and what it offers. But also tourist attractions. So, you know, but when you see a monument, you'll kind of hold your phone up to it and it will give you information and tell you more about it. Some really, really cool stuff that's being used in that regard, where you actually hold your phone up to a monument and just say it's Winston Churchill, and he'll come alive and actually tell you a story. So again, this is really developing real kind of new possibilities to companies. And a practical example of that is that again, I'm sure some of you have seen this, but there's a trend, particularly in food and drink, to use augmented reality through a smartphone app to bring labels alive. So this particular example is an Australian wine called 19 Crimes. And what you do download the Living Wine Labels app onto your phone, and you can hold it up to the wine label, and essentially it comes alive and it tells you a story. Now, it's not that expensive to do this now. Again, as I say, this technology is becoming much more accessible. So the people pictured on these live wine labels, they're actually some of the early convicts who went to Australia, and they come alive and tell their story. And again, it's just adding that new kind of dynamic. So I think that's something we're going to see more and more of. Artificial intelligence equally is going to be something. Again, we talk about artificial intelligence and we think of robots and, you know, really sophisticated systems. Again, artificial intelligence is something that we're using in our daily lives. It may be a interaction with a chatbot or you know, this particular system here. So this is Olay, the Oil of Olay website, you know, the cosmetics company. Used to be Oil of Olay, as I tend to call it. But you go on their website now, and they've got an AI-driven, an artificial intelligence-driven skin advisor. Essentially what that does, it takes you take a selfie of yourself, it then gives you a skin age. I was a bit disappointed with this because I'm 41 and it tells me I've got a skin age of 48, so obviously got some work to carry out there. But what it does, it basically scans your face and basically looks at the condition of your skin around the eyes, the forehead, etc. But then it suggests there are different products that could really help you to you know, hopefully lower that skin age. So it's making personalized recommendations based on an actual body scan. And again, we're seeing that type of technology, body scanning technology, being utilized more and more. Maybe particularly interest within the kind of yoga market as well. One of the trends that links to that is, and really using similar software techniques, is personal trainers. So we're now seeing artificial intelligence driven personal trainers. So essentially what they do, again, similar technology, they scan the body, they'll have you doing different exercises based on how you're doing them, and that body scanning technology, they'll tell you if you're doing it right or if you're doing it wrong, how to adjust. Again, this stuff's getting quite sophisticated and more accessible, and I think that's the key thing. It's becoming more accessible to businesses to utilise this technology. So these are some of the trends we're seeing. Another thing just to draw on is data. So again, lots and lots of talk about big data and using data to understand customers, but again, the best brands, they use data to almost adjust the customer experience in real time. And the real pioneers of this are Disney. So again, some of you have maybe been to Disney and had something called a magic band. Magic band essentially goes around your wrist. It's you can use it to open your hotel rooms. You can use it to make purchases. But what's really interesting about it is that Disney essentially use it to track your movement across the park. So this is within Disneyland resorts. They track your movement across the park. They look where you are, how you're spending time. They then grow a real understanding of how different types of people. So it could be, you know, grandparent or a parent or a young person, you know, how different groups of people actually use the park. But what's really neat about this is that if you're stood in a queue for a particular ride, it will alert you through an app on your phone to say, well, actually, you know, maybe the really long queue on this ride at the moment, but we know if you just nip around the corner, there's a shorter queue for another ride that, based on your profile, we believe that you would enjoy. If for some reason the park's really busy and all that, there's big queues everywhere, they may send you a special offer to say, well, actually, we recognise everything's a bit busy at the moment, so why don't you take yourself off to the cafe and we'll give you 50% off a coffee or something like that. So again, almost in real time, they're using data, and the connected device, again, that's another part of technology that we're seeing a real increase in. Devices that are actually connected to the internet. 5G or accelerate that trend moving forward as well. But they're using that data to really understand their customers. Again, I think you can look at wearables and you know, monitoring people's health and fitness and all those sort of things that are maybe some things that could be utilized. I'm just going to play you a quick video because this really brings to life how brings to life how augmented reality can be used to help help feed the customer journey whilst people are making a decision. So I'll just play this video if it will let me play it. Sorry, just one moment. But this is IKEA who have used it. Again, some of you have maybe used this app. I know I've used it and it's really neat. But for some reason the video won't play. Rather than play the video and wait on that, oh, here we go. Sorry about this. We'll just let it. Here we go. So just a video that will bring this augmented reality to life. So there you have it, IKEA and how they're using augmented reality to really enhance the customer experience. Again, I've used that, and it's really useful when you can't quite visualize how something's going to look within a space within your home. In terms of Prime, so just want to highlight Prime. So Prime came about really by Amazon recognizing several problems within their customer journey and their operation. What they recognized is that shipping times were too long. The checkout system that they had at the time was too hard for customers to use. But perhaps most importantly, they recognized that their customers weren't loyal to Amazon. They were essentially, going onto Amazon and looking for the best price. So they'll be looking for the best price and equally looking at other platforms to find the best price. And if they found it cheaper somewhere else, they would buy it. What Amazon Prime did was really it almost tied people, or ties the customer in to through removing those obstacles, making the checkout process quicker, so it's almost one touch, by making sure that it's delivering enhanced delivery, so you're going to get something the next day if you're subscribed to the Amazon Prime program. But because you're paying a subscription for that, which is a relatively modest cost every month, you kind of feel compelled to use it. You feel compelled to actually order through Amazon. And again, I'm a victim of their kind of marketing as a subscriber to Prime. And probably order far too much through Amazon. But you can see how that's really worked and helped develop Amazon as a business and kind of really lock the customers into their customer journey. So that's one thing that just wanted to highlight here. How can you lock people in to that customer journey through the way you do things? Of course, Amazon's a huge company, still a relatively new company actually, but they're obviously a huge company, so everyone's not in a position to invest at the same rate of Amazon. But I suppose the reason I'm talking about Amazon is to just emphasize that there's opportunities for you to get creative with the way you price, the way you package products and services together, the way you manage checkout processes, and encourage brand loyalty as well. So there's different things that you can do within your business model that equally is trying to tackle some of those problems that Amazon identified and tackled through the development of the Prime service. So, and just one of the things to highlight, and before we move on to the kind of tools and techniques that you can use practically within your business, actually focusing on customer journey and the focus on customer experience, it helps customers get things right first time. So some of the issues, particularly with online based businesses or platforms, is the rate of returns is absolutely colossal. So can they create an environment where where a focus on customer experience is reducing the rate of returns, and solving some of those problems that we get within an online platform. And again, you can see it's not just about products, but it's also about holidays and e-commerce in general. So hopefully there's some problems that we can resolve there. So I'm just going to take a pause at the moment and just ask if at this stage are there any questions. Again, just feel free to unmute and come in, or just check the chat. So has anyone got any questions at this stage?
I've got a question, Colin.
Yeah.
One of the things that's happened for me recently is I've had to introduce things like QR code check-in to venues for classes and for my acupuncture business. And I'm actually bumping up against quite a lot of people who don't have smartphones. So it's that sense of how to work with a customer experience where you've got different kind of customer journeys, where you've got somebody who's very sort of digital savvy, all the way through to somebody who, I think I had one person sort of show me a phone, and it was like one of the old flip over Nokias from however many years ago. And I thought, well, it's trying to sort of to weave your way through sort of different aspects. So it's whether you've got any suggestions there, or whether that's something that's going to come later on in your webinar.
Yeah, Pat, I think that's a really good point, and it is what we're going to focus on now, actually. And it's really about having, you know, there's different customers who have different requirements, and quite often as businesses we'll have a process, and we think actually this is the process we want customers to follow. But of course, as you've rightly identified, not all customers are going to follow that process.
Yeah.
We've got to kind of look at our broad customer group. So you will have people who don't have smartphones or aren't tech savvy. So how are we going to deal with them? So we're going to have, and quite often we do a lot of customer journey mapping with customers, with businesses we support, and essentially the starting point is, you know, well, tell us about your processes, you know, how do customers interact with you? But when you start to break it down into those customer groups, it becomes really apparent that people interact in totally different ways with the company, you know, which is different to the way they would like them to interact. So I think that, you know, your point's absolutely spot on. We've got to take it right back to the customer. There may be ways to support customers to utilize that technology, but equally, if they can't, or if there's significant barriers there, then we need a different approach. So you know, it's about that combination of digital and physical interactions, and making sure that they fit the customer. And we're putting the customer at the heart of these journeys. So certainly what I'm not going to preach today is technology for technology's sake. You know, it's all about putting the customer at the center. So, you know, some people QR codes, but you're going to need a different system for those customers who, you know, the person with the flip screen Nokia is not going to go and buy a new smartphone, probably, are they? So
no, exactly. So I say, because as you were talking, the things that I was looking is that at the minute I haven't adopted the capacity for people to book onto classes online or to pay via my website. So it's that sense is that I've been quite hesitant because of the nature of the business that I'm in, and it's the extent to which where sort of personal contact is the big part of how you interact with customers. It's quite a shift for me to think, oh yeah, let's look at this in different ways.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's having the options, but making sure those options come almost into a central point. So one of the things, and just thinking about how people are dealing with track and trace, you do have the automated QR codes, etc. But equally, people may also have an iPad, you know, where people can put their information. The interesting thing about that is that it all filters into the same database. So where that information's landing and the way you manage that information's still quite tight. You know, it's going into the same place, because that's one of the dangers. Just from your personal bandwidth point of view, you end up having paper-based systems and iPad QR codes, and if that data is all going to different places, you've then got to spend time bringing it all together again. So I think that's where technology can really help. How can we, you know, make sure that everything's landing back in a similar place? So we'll look.
Okay, thank you.
And hopefully the techniques we'll go through will just help you think through that. The other thing, and obviously, you know, what this webinar will do, it will throw up ideas, questions, you know, hopefully provoke a bit of thought and give you a framework that you can use within your business. Of course, the other benefit we have is we've got technology experts who can then work with you to kind of practically, you know, look at the options that are right for you. So maybe that's a follow on. Thanks, Pat. Has anyone else got any questions before we move on? Okay, we'll we'll move on. Again, we can have some questions to, or we can have an opportunity for further discussion as we move forward. So, sorry, I think I've got 5 steps to a WOW customer experience. I added a 6th last night, so it's actually 6 steps to a WOW customer experience. So really, what I'm going to flow through here is it's a bit of a case study, an example, but it's 6 steps that hopefully you can adopt within your business or use to actually think about how you're going to develop your end-to-end customer experience. So we'll just start working through that. The first thing is to start with vision. So have a clear sense of what relationship do you want to have with your customers. Is that a close relationship? You know, do you want them to love your brand? Do you want them to, you know, really feel that you're part of their kind of health and wealth being moving forward, and you're kind of working in partnership towards that? Whatever that is, the start point to all of this is just being really clear on the relationship and the type of experience that you want to deliver to your customers. One of the reasons that this is essential is that, of course, the delivery of that customer experience isn't wholly reliant on you. You may have partners, employees who have to deliver that experience. So you need to be in a position to be able to explain and articulate that to them, and almost, you know, really demonstrate to them, these are the things that we expect of you to contribute to the delivery of that experience. Again, you can't have anyone in that flow who's going to represent your weakest link. So how do we get everyone on the same page and understanding what that desired kind of feeling and experience is that we're ultimately going to deliver to our customers. So that's a starting point, getting really clear on that. And just some, you know, again, just some questions that I would ask when doing that. What relationship do you want to have with your customers? What do you want them to feel about your business, your employees, and your products? A big part of customer experience is making an emotional connection, and we'll come back to that. You know, we want people to feel emotion about what you're actually delivering to them, and to feel good about that. And then again, you know, from the introductions, it sounds like a lot of your businesses are clearly in that space where you are making a difference to people's lives as well. Again, it's got to be dead clear, dead focused, and simple for you to explain to people. Of course, just one other thing to highlight there, one of the reasons for that is that we also want people to develop ideas. So we understand that experience that you're delivering, and almost that's something that you've got to constantly work on. You know, and if your employees or partners can develop ideas on what could be done better and what could really add to that experience, it makes your life, you know, a hell of a lot easier, because you're not having to be that fountain of all knowledge and ideas. So again, it's about empowering people to deliver that experience and feel once they're in tune with that experience, they'll feel empowered to make decisions and to add to it. Again, you know, what do you want people to say? So what would the ideal words or phrases be that you would want people to use when they're actually describing your product or service to someone else? Again, these are just all ways of building up a picture of what that experience could look like. Again, how long do you want to be with them? What does that relationship look like? Is it a 10-year relationship, or is it quite transactional in nature? You know, but because it's a product that you maybe need now and again, you know, but equally you want to be top of mind when they're coming back. And what to do, get those down on paper, you know, brainstorm them, maybe get a couple of people across your team together just to kind of flesh this out, but then create a set of guiding principles. So in terms of our customer experience, this is really what's going to guide us, and use those prompts to develop that. Again, you know, sometimes the temptation's to jump straight in and start designing the experience, but it's much easier if you do that bit of work up front and just be really clear on what your vision is for that customer experience. The next thing, and this really starts to draw on some of the points that you've just mentioned, but Pat, is that the second thing is to really understand who your customers are. you know, we need to really really build quite an intimate level of knowledge over our customers and the groups of customers that we're dealing with, because it's only at that point that we can deliver a truly powerful experience to them. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to focus on Nigel. So Nigel's going to be our case study, or the person that we're going to focus on in terms of customer experience. So we're going to try and figure out how we can wow Nigel. So to figure out how we're going to wow Nigel, the first thing is we need to understand who he is. You know, who is Nigel? What's important to Nigel? So if you think about your business, you can probably think, well, we've got broad groups who we deal with. It could be in yoga, we've got, you know, more of a kind of, excuse the term, but a more elderly or OAP type of classes that we deliver. We've maybe got people who are coming to us because they've got bad backs, or, you know, and need yoga to kind of as part of the therapy around that. So on and so forth. We'll maybe have athletes, or, you know, people who need it from that point of view. But there'll be broad groups of people who you're dealing with, and can you kind of categorize them together and then create a persona around them? So the persona for this group is Nigel. So build a profile of Nigel. So again, you can create almost these avatars or characters that you really focus on. And when you're delivering your service, you think, well, actually, what, you know, developing ideas, what would Nigel think about that? You know, what would this mean to Nigel? So you could have a Nigel, a Janet, a John, you know, representing different groups. Again, you know, if you develop these personas, people across your teams will start to think that way as well. Well, actually, you know, I've got a Nigel coming through the customer journey at the moment. You know, how do I have to adjust my approach and you know, in relation to that? So thinking about Nigel is 70. He's white and British. He, you know, quite traditionalist, really. You know, reads the Daily Telegraph, so quite conservative. Listens to Radio 4. He's retired. He used to have his own business as well, so he had a furniture shop. So you know, he's probably someone who's done all right and got a few pennies in the bank. What are his goals in life? Again, let's think about what people are really driven by. It's to enjoy a comfortable retirement. So that's Nigel. You know, quite a simple guy. You know, looking for a comfortable requirement. Where will you find him? Conservative club on a Friday night. Likes a bit of ballroom dancer. Bit of a schmoozer is our Nigel. What does he want from you? Well, actually, what he's looking for at the moment, he's actually in need of a new armchair because he's got a bit of a bad back. In terms of Nigel, what does he like? Likes watching TV in his comfortable armchair. Again, because of his background in having a small furniture shop, you know, he's a bit of a stickler for quality. He likes that kind of traditional products that last, you know, and are really kind of driven out of quality. And equally, he's quite active. He likes getting about, spending time with friends and family. And what does Nigel dislike? He dislikes cheap imports and the internet. So we've got probably a bit of a technophobe here. So one thing's for sure, Pat, this would be someone joining one of your classes who with the kind of the old Nokia phone. So he's probably within that boundary, but, you know, kind of likes the way things were and quality and dislikes some of the movements. So the next stage is we now understand Nigel. What we now need to figure out is, well, we understand Nigel, but how are we going to make an emotional connection with Nigel? Again, the best customer experience is the wow customer experience, to make that emotional connection with their customers. So again, just starting to think about how we can do that. We now need to understand Nigel at a deeper level. A great tool for doing that is something called an empathy map. So this is where we now start to think about how, when Nigel's actually buying his new armchair, so I'm an online shop who sells armchairs. when Nigel's going through that, how does he feel about me, my business, and what, you know, and when he's going through that buying process, ultimately, what will he say? You know, what are the type of things he'll say when he's looking for this new armchair? What will he think? What will he actually do? And how will he feel about it? So thinking about Nigel, since he closed his shop, because of course he had a fantastic shop selling similar products, the nearest decent shop that sells the brands of the quality that Nigel would be looking for, it's actually 100 miles away. You know, quite specialist stuff that he's looking for here in terms of the desired product. So he's got a bit of a problem there. It's a long way away. The other thing is, you know, Nigel's a bit of an expert in this field, and you know, he doesn't think that anyone's really got the same level of expertise as him. You know, probably a bit frustrated because he's shut and now he can't find similar products elsewhere. And, you know, probably really skeptical about online stores and just thinking that they're selling cheap imports from China and all those sort of things. So again, getting a group of people together and just, you know, flip chart on the wall, or using something like Google Jamboard if you can't physically get together under the current conditions, you know, kind of getting people together and just starting to facilitate some of this is really powerful. In terms of what he thinks, no one stands for quality anymore. How can I choose a chair without sitting on it? You know, nonsense. You know, how on earth can I get a feel for the chair? Online shops don't offer expertise. You know, they're just kind of giving you a bit of an online directory, and they just want to make a quick buck. So again, these are all things that when we get into the mindset of Nigel that we're starting to unearth. What will he do? He'll probably go online and order brochures. He wants something where he can look and feel, and you know, he likes tangible things that he can flick through on a night, you know, whilst he's watching telly. He'll probably have a bit of a search on Google, maybe not be that effective at that. The other thing he'll probably do is look for the specific brands that he knows and trusts, probably the ones that he used to have in his shop. And the other thing is he'll probably try and do is find out if there are any businesses who are located a bit closer, you know, because ideally he would really want to go to the showroom and sit in the chair. He in terms of his feelings, and this is really where you can make that emotional connection. It's all about feelings, and you know, really focusing on playing into those. Probably feels quite anxious about buying online and paying online. This could be quite a substantial amount of money. Probably feels that he's got superior knowledge and expertise. Frustrated that he can't actually sit in a chair. And probably again a bit confused about online shops, how they work, and all those sort of things. So I suppose Nigel's finding this a bit difficult. You know, this process of buying a new armchair quite difficult. But again, if you think about people like Nigel, it's not just about buying a chair. They'll probably find a lot of things quite stressful in terms of when they've got a new, you know, something substantial to buy. So that's the empathy map. Once we've defined who Nigel is, once we've kind of understood him at a deeper level through the creation of an empathy map, we can then start to think about, well, actually, what type of customer journey do we believe we need to create for Nigel? So, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. So for Nigel, so Nigel's back with us there. And again, as I said earlier, it's really important that we focus on the entire customer journey. It's not just how Nigel makes the purchase or how the product, the armchair, is actually delivered to him. It's absolutely everything we need to focus on. We need to make sure there's no broken links, and that everyone involved in that customer journey is on the same hymn sheet, as it were. So we've got to get integration across that customer journey. So looking at a customer journey, this is broadly, you know, the steps. Still changes, but dependent on specific products and services. But this is broadly the stages that we would focus on. Firstly, you've got awareness. So actually, how are you going to make Nigel aware that you actually stock the brands that he requires? So there's a whole marketing side of things. you know, if he's doing Google searches, you're showing up there. Again, you want to give him confidence, you know, that your links the right one to the right one to click through against. So that's the whole kind of awareness and engagement process. What Nigel will then do, he'll probably have a variety of different shops who sell the brands that he's looking for. He'll then start to evaluate the options. And again, that tends to be online, or maybe, you know, in one shop he's evaluating different models of chair, or maybe there's a couple of brands or different options available to him. So he's kind of looking through the information and starting to evaluate that. Hopefully that leads to a purchase. He's made his decision. Then the product's got to be delivered. It's then used. Based on using it, Nigel will realise the value, or not realise the value, depending on how he feels about the chair that he's actually bought. He'll then continue to use it when he's watching telly on a night, and then he'll really recognise the value. Maybe he'll sit back one night and think, actually, this was a good purchase. I like this chair that I'm sat on. And hopefully, you know, there's recognition of that. You know, he spreads that recognition, telling people about it, maybe an online review, etc. So that's broadly how we would think about a customer journey. In terms of another way of looking at this, so when we're actually mapping this out, we tend to focus on what we would call touch points. So as we move through each stage of that customer journey, right from awareness through to recognition, what are the touch points that we've got in place with Nigel? So and what we're looking at here is digital touch points. So above the line are digital touch points, and below the line are physical touch points. And it's a combination of those digital and physical touch points that's going to move Nigel right through awareness through to recognition. So again, it's a methodology of I suppose, thinking through all those different touch points. Quite interestingly, we facilitate this exercise with companies, really to understand how they can improve and enhance the customer journey from an end-to-end point of view. And quite often when we do this, we'll start with Nigel. We've done the personas, the empathy maps, and everything. We'll say, well, let's walk through how Nigel would walk through our customer journey. And quite interestingly, most companies at that point forget about Nigel, and they'll essentially map out how they would want the customer journey to work. So going back to your example, Pat, they would probably start with saying, well, he'll come into a yoga class, he'll fill out a QR code, blah, 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 or he'll have registered online. So we'll let that run, you know, because obviously that's kind of getting out of the business exactly how they want the process to work. But then we'll come back to Nigel. So we'll say, well, actually, let's just review this and let's just think about Nigel. Would they book online? Would they fill out a QR code? And, you know, and so on and so forth. So again, it's doing it very much with Nigel on mind, or other personas that you've actually developed. So you'll probably do this exercise for maybe 3 or 4 different customer groups, and then figure out what underpinning infrastructure do you need to hold all those customer journeys together. Because of course, what you want is consistency at the back end of how that's going to be delivered. But all that wiring, you almost want to hide from the customer, if that makes sense. So again, I'm going to ask you just for a bit of input here and some ideas. So thinking about Nigel and just some of the stuff that we've covered so far through the webinar, what do you think would wow Nigel in terms of a customer journey? Are there any ideas or any things that you think that, you know, in buying a chair, and this would be through an online platform, that would really wow Nigel? Again, if you've got an idea, pop it in the chat box, or feel free to unmute and just let us know if you've got any ideas. So over to you. Yeah, absolutely. Part knowledge about products, that's obviously really important to to Nigel, and if he felt that a shop showed an online store in some way actually demonstrated real expertise, real understanding of the chairs to the level that he did, I'm sure that's something that he would really, really respect and probably feel quite good about. That there's still people like Nigel out there who care to the same degree about the product and services as he does. Absolutely, recognise brands. So again, knowing the customer, what brands would really attract Nigel, what do we need to stock and deal in? Thanks, Francis. And any more? Don't feel obliged, by the way. We'll move on if not. So brilliant. So we'll move on to in classic Blue Peter style. Here's one that I prepared earlier. So just walking through the customer journey, and again, these are just ideas or examples. There could be a whole range of different things, but firstly, thinking about awareness. This book plays into the kind of ideas that you've that you've highlighted. You could have videos of experts, so people within the online store or people within the team actually talking through the different features and benefits of the actual product. So really demonstrating that knowledge about products that you spoke of, Pat. So I think that's something that, again, would really give Nigel confidence. Again, maybe some previous customers just giving a kind of really authentic review of the different chair and what they thought. What did they really get out of it? Maybe it's someone with a bad back like Nigel has, kind of saying, well, actually it really helped them. As we're moving through that customer journey, so that's very much a digital touch point. We'll then move through down and actually one that's maybe a bit more physical, as it were, but facilitated through digital means. One of the things that would probably help Nigel if he could have one-to-one expert advice and account management, which could be via Zoom or telephone, but there would not only allow him to ask questions and really check that expert knowledge about the products and services, but also guide him through the process. Because Nigel hasn't done any of this before. He hasn't bought a big ticket item online before. So is there someone who could actually account manage or actually walk him through the process and support him? And again, there's technologies like Zoom or different platforms that could be used to do that. Nigel would maybe quite like to see someone, and interact with someone. That's perfectly achievable. Again, we could think about some of those real innovative areas that we talked about right at the start of the session. Could you have an artificial intelligence tool that makes recommendations based on a body scan? So probably two things you could do here is think about the conditions that the likes of Nigel has and maybe take a body scan of him, and based on that start to make recommendations about the best type of chair for him based on his size. If he's if Nigel's larger or smaller, then there'll be different chairs that will suit him better. If he, it could be based on height, but equally, are the chairs that are better for a bad back or the specific condition that he's got. Again, you could almost, through the account manager, via a Zoom call, actually talking through that process. Again, bit different, but I'm sure with the right support, something that Nigel could engage in. Again, just thinking about some of the other things, Nigel, he's equally a bit unsure how it's going to look in his room. Will it sit, in the right place and look good? So, you could use some of those augmented reality apps that the likes of IKEA are using to actually position the product within the room. Interestingly, if it is one of the brands, a big brand, we're seeing brands actually using it and embedding that technology within their brochures. So you probably saw with IKEA, it's through scanning a brochure that will present with your smartphone, that presents that helps visualize or create the avatar within the room. So again, brands or some of the brands he's working with are maybe actually introducing that technology as well. Could be a suggestion to them. Actually, this is something we think's really going to enhance the customer journey. It'll help us shift more of your products. You know, is this something you could work with us on? Again, it doesn't always have to be you footing the bill or you know, actually driving that innovation. Can you encourage other people to do, because it will help you help them? Again, thinking about things like chat bots and artificial intelligence. You know, once Nigel's made the purchase, and again, the account manager have walked him through that, maybe, you know, through some sort of secure system where you could make payment. You could give automated delivery updates. So sometimes with these brands, you know, it can take a bit of time for the actual product to come. So periodic updates on how things are going, but you could actually make that feel, although it would be automated, it was coming from the account manager. So again, making it feel very, very personal. If Nigel responds, maybe the chat bot will deal with simple questions like, have you got an estimated arrival date? But if there's something a bit more technical, it would then go to the account manager to deal with. Again, other things, and this isn't all about technology. You know, Nigel's got a bad back. We know he's got a bad back. So let's make sure that when the drivers turn up, they actually unpack it, they set it up, they kind of position it in the place that he wants. Again, it's understanding the customer's very specific requirements. Again, I think it'll be a really nice touch from a physical point of view for the account manager to touch base and make sure that everything's absolutely fine for Nigel and that he's happy. Could also be some added comfort in there. You know, just going back to the previous example, you could offer some sort of guarantee. So if this chair isn't right for you, Nigel, we're going to give you a week. There's a kind of 1 week comfort guarantee. You know, but because of the process, hopefully we've helped him make the right decision. So it's minimising the rate of returns that we're experiencing. And then again, you know, in a digital world, I think sometimes physical touches actually stand out more. So, you know, if the account manager just, you know, sent a nice handwritten card to Nigel, you know, maybe that's something that would, you know, really enhance the service. So as I say, it's about how we blend physical and digital means together to kind of deliver that exceptional customer service. And finally, you know, wouldn't it be great if, you know, especially because Nigel's such an expert in this area anyway, for him to really demonstrate the recognition of the value or the recognition of the value of the experiences received by actually posting some sort of video or online review. So again, hopefully that just demonstrates how we can use the tool to actually just map out that end-to-end customer journey. But it's really powerful just to kind of think about that flow and actually how we not only bring people on the journey, but then deliver the service. You know, that could be through, you know, as we're moving through that yoga class, you know, what does that look like, that delivery? You know, how do we want people to feel? You know, what can we add into that, right through to the offboarding process, so when people have actually received the product and recognising the value. So I'll just move through the next 2 points, and then again we'll open up for questions. So again, something really practical that's really powerful in designing this. So you've now got a really good feel for who your customers are. You've mapped out your customer journeys. You've identified loads of ideas of how you can really deliver that wow, and you're kind of getting on with that. But one thing I must stress is that this has got to be a continual process. So not something that you stop. It's something where you're always kind of thinking of new ideas and new ways of adding value to customers. So, and again, this could be a really small team, or it could be a larger team based on the size of your company. But create a team of customer experience champions. So this could be a team that's employed. It could be a team that includes you and partners who are delivering different parts of the journey. But it's creating that team so everyone's tuned into the customer experience, but they're looking for idea, and they're protecting it. They're making sure that experience is delivered. They're making sure that there isn't a weakest link. But equally, they're looking for ideas. You know, actually, how can we make this better? And ideally, that team will represent people who are involved across the across the customer journey. It could be at the front end, you rely on a digital agency to do your e-commerce work, so they should be involved. Your delivery team should be involved, etc. So it's making sure that that team represents the people who are delivering all the different touch points across that customer journey. Again, you know, just making sure that they've got those different personas and top of mind, so they're thinking not just about one customer or one customer journey. They're thinking about how different people are going to move through that. If suddenly you start to get demand from a different customer group or spot an opportunity to engage a different customer group, then, which sometimes actually this process can lead to, it can lead to ideas of how you can engage other customer groups. You know, again, you need different customer groups for that. And then, you know, periodically, you know, map out the journey. You know, I know it's something I regularly do with my current organisation, is that we kind of map out that journey on a regular basis, just to kind of fine tune it and make sure that it's in constant evolution. And again, develop ideas. You know, when you're mapping it out, develop those new ideas. Identify the ones that are going to deliver the highest benefit at the lowest cost, and run with those. Again, you know, what are your kind of quick wins? What are the things that you can implement quickly to deliver a wow, but are going to deliver the maximum benefit at the lowest cost, is how I tend to think things about it, and just continuously repeat that cycle. So developing that team, giving autonomy to that team to actually think about how they develop the customer journey is really, really important. And again, the exact makeup of that depends on the size and shape of a customer. The other thing we need to do is capture data on the customer experience. So we need a mechanism, and again, some of you will be dealing with volumes of customers and quite a transactional level. Some of you will have much deeper relationships, but equally we need to understand what people think of us, you know, and think about the experience that we're delivering. So one of the tools that I'm a fan of in doing this is something called Net Promoters. And essentially, Net Promoters is it's based on asking a very simple question of customers. And the question is, would you recommend me to someone else? Would you recommend me to your peers? And basically, they then give you a score between 0 and 10. Anyone scoring between 0 and 6 is classed as a net detractor. So they're probably people who are going to say bad things, you know, actually it was a rubbish experience, or the product wasn't delivered in time, etc. You then got people who score a 7 or an 8. They're what we would call passive customers. And basically the experience was all right, but I'm not going to really shout from the rooftops about it. I'm not going to be an evangelist, but it was all right, and I may use it again, but I'm a bit lukewarm on it. And then you've got what we call the Net Promoters. So they're the people who score give you a rating of between 9 and 10, and they're the people who will be shouting from the rooftops about you. They will be, you know, really almost evangelical about your product and service, and other people bring more customers to you. So the aim is to deliver an experience that's going to result in a higher rate of promoters, because they're obviously incredibly important. And that's why, going right back to the back of the webinar, that's why those results about people paying more, being loyal, and all those sort of things, that's what's driving it. You know, it's people who are really evangelical and bringing more customers to the brand, etc. That's really driving those rates. So you can actually achieve collect data just by you know, based on the interactions you're having. Just ask that really simple question. You could ask it physically. You could do it through a survey or whichever means. But ask that question. It will really help you get a feel for what people really think about you, the service that you're delivering. And again, just another thing to highlight, where obviously with social media, that's where a lot of people's views are aired, and that's where a lot of problems are voiced that people are having with particular products. So increasingly, we're seeing businesses using what we call social sentiment scoring as a mechanism to really get a feel for how people feel about the customer journey that they're delivering. And basically, it's software that monitors social media and what people are saying about you and your business. So again, this is a particular tool called Word Nerds. And so just to highlight that there's a trend and there's kind of tools that can really drill down in social media to figure out what people are saying on those platforms, but probably more useful for companies who are dealing with large volumes of customers. So I'll take a breath, and that's it from the kind of formal webinar slides. Hopefully, again, we always try and give people tools that they can use within their business. So hopefully the six-step framework gives you a framework to work from. We'll send the slides to you all following the session, so you've got something to work with there. But equally, just to highlight, through the Digital Tech Cumbria program, the support and people who can actually come into your business and support you. So are there any questions? And I'll just ask Janet just to make some closing remarks as well about the program. But before that, are there any questions? Okay, I'll say feel free to send questions through to the team after. I'll leave some contact details. But what I'll do, I'll just hand over to Janet. And I don't know, Janet, do you just want to say a couple of words about how the Digital Tech Cumbria program can support businesses to suppose move some of these ideas forward?
Well, I think it's probably the easiest way is if, following on from this, if you want to come back to the email address, which should be on your next slide. Is that right, Colin?
There we go.
If you want to just email into there, that'll come directly through to me, and we can have a more detailed chat that directly targets your business and how we can support that if the eligibility criteria fits for you. But yeah, I'm based in Cumbria, and I'm happy to meet either on a face-to-face socially distanced environment, or I'm happy to meet via Teams or on a what is the bog standard phone now in this day and age, and just chat through to make sure we can fit it to your personal needs, really. We can look internally at the business very holistically to see what the barriers are for you not adopting the tech, what the skill sets might be missing, and really whether you've got broadband issues, which falls down to a lot of the problems that happens, and certainly look at the client base and see whether there's a variety of tech that can support you on that as well. So please do just get in touch with the details on here, and we can follow it up and take it from there.
Pat's got a hand up. Have you got a question you want to ask, Pat?
Yeah, I actually followed the process through to look at whether or not I was eligible. So could you say a little bit about the eligibility criteria? Because I was told that I wasn't eligible.
Yeah, I've got a note on yours, Pat, and I'm going to re-look at it. The difficulty we've got with the RDF is that it's generally business to business, so business to consumer can be a little bit difficult. Okay. And we have to really look hard as to how we can make that work. I'm going to re-look at it on the conversation that you started at the very beginning, was that you would potentially be working across a few of you working on the social prescribing, which means that you potentially could be working with a business.
Yeah. So I think the reason that I mention it is one of the things that that Margaret and I have looked at is whether or not there's this opportunity for the development of an app that could act as kind of a route in for some of the social prescribing things, bearing in mind some of the things that we've been talking about already. in that some of the people who we may be working with may not be particularly tech savvy. Some of them will be absolutely spot on with tech, but it's this idea about how you actually look and create kind of like, it's like a front end sort of wellness hub, and we can use that to bring people into into these programs or program, and see how we can actually both engage with the doctor surgeries who we're looking to see if we can get them to refer in, as well as us managing sort of what we're trying to achieve, but also have that aspect of delivering specifically to customers.
Pat, could I stop you there? Because it's probably worth us taking this offline and having a separate one rather than delving into the depth of your process online with everybody else. So I'll pick up your contact details and review, and we'll have a look to see what we can do.
Yeah, okay, that'd be great, thanks.
I mean, just one thing to add, and it's just a kind of idea or comment. I would imagine in what you're doing and that whole area around wellness, there's probably a B2B market for that as well, especially around the COVID. I know actually in my team, particularly around the winter, people getting out, staying active, mental health is a huge issue. So, maybe something that plays into that market, and all these people are now working at home and feeling relatively isolated. Maybe there's something there. So,
yeah. I think this is exactly the issue. This is exactly the issue that we're grappling with at the moment, is how do you actually find a route in, and how do you find the support to develop the right approach. So, yeah.
Do that. Yeah, I mean, that's it'll be great to get you on, because that's exactly the sort of thing we can really help with.
Yeah, right.
Brilliant. So if there's no more questions, I'll just quickly check the chat function again. No more questions. That draws the session to a close. Just thanks very much for your participation. Thanks for the intros at the start as well. It's sometimes from our point of view, it's delivering something digitally, but again, it's great to have the time to actually understand the businesses on the call as well. So it's been a real pleasure to meet you all, and thanks for your participation. But we'll draw it to a close now. But
there's just one thing, Colin, can I add? Being so new to the programme, being my 7th day here, I think we're supposed to do an online questionnaire as to how you found it. Now, I don't know how to do that, so we'll probably follow that up with an email, and I apologise for not doing that.
Sorry, you're quite right. This is...
All right. Colin's got it.
This is me not practising what I preach. Someone normally does that for me, but this is about collecting data on customer experience. So I've just launched that now, so it would be really useful if you could just spend a couple of moments just to fill out the poll that should just have launched on your screen. And it'll be really useful. Thanks for the prompt, Janet. So if you could just do that now, that would be really useful. So only 4 questions, or 5, 6, sorry, 7.
It says hosts and panels. Oh, right, okay.
Great, thank you. You can see the results coming through, so that's super.
Okay, how are we doing on the numbers now? We've got the 4.
We've got the 2.
2
so far. I think there's sometimes a bit of a delay.
Okay.
Great, excellent. Well, thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the day. And we hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.